What was the weirdest rule you had to follow in school? When I was in high school, the phrase, epic fail, was a thing. One of my teachers became sick of it and banned it. It was quickly replaced with catastrophic error. In 7th grade, my Lang and Lit teacher tried to get us to stop saying, shut up, and somebody came up with an alternative. Be quiet with a passion. It quickly became a very popular thing to say. When I was like 6, my mom wouldn't let me say shut up. So being a 6-year-old, I started using a new phrase I had at school. Fuck off. My dad kicked the fuck out of my ass that day. Way back in elementary school, we weren't allowed to walk around the school in groups larger than 3 because it intimidated the primary grades. Like fucking what? They didn't allow the boys to have door on the bathroom stalls in high school. They let teachers use those bathrooms. Nothing like walking in on your 300 pounds history teacher dropping a deuce. We had this in middle school. We had 4 8th grade in my building, and little 5th graders would wander up to the middle school bathroom and make comments about us trying to do our business, mainly, wow wow, or grus. This stopped when we started tossing poopy toilet paper in their general directions. Funny story, I got in trouble for doing this, and we had a meeting with my mom, the principal, the kid who got poop rags tossed at him, and his dad. Conversation stopped when they found out we had no doors on our stalls, and they both started scolding the principal. It was awesome. Me and Poop Kid are actually friends, 15 to 20 years later. When I was in elementary school, we had a rule that kids were strictly not allowed to touch rocks. No rocks. Not pebbles, not big rocks, no rocks. I got put in timeout a few times for touching rocks. The problem was, our playground was built on a pebble pit. If you fell or wanted to sit on the ground to play, you could very well be singled out and punished for touching rocks. It was a huge tattle fest too. Kids would catch others touching the rocks and run to tell the PE coaches, who would immediately interrogate you. Did you touch rocks? Tell me the truth. I found a really cool rock in 1st grade and decided to show it to my coach. I told her it looked like an alligator's skull. She smiled at me, took the rock, and chucked it as far as she could, then bitterly told me, don't touch rocks. If you kept touching rocks, you'd be made to walk around the playground in circles sometimes until you had sufficiently learned your lesson. I once walked in circles with a few other kids until playground time was over. It felt like forever, but it was probably like 15 minutes. Edit, as far as I know, they never told us why. Maybe they had a good reason, I don't know. All I know is that rock touching was forbidden. My school dates back to the 13th century, so we had some archaic rules still floating around. My personal favorite was that the head boy gained the right to grow facial hair and graze his sheep on the headmaster's lawn. In middle school, we weren't allowed to clap during assemblies because the vice principal thought it was too disruptive. We could only do jazz hands. I had severe kidney problems when I was in secondary school. The rule was that when we were in the yard, you couldn't leave the yard until break lunch was over. Like they literally locked the gates to stop you from leaving once in the yard. I had multiple arguments with teachers FOT not letting me go to the toilet. Then getting bitched at in classes for asking to go, or being late. There was silent time in the lunchroom in Catholic elementary school at the beginning of lunch, ostensibly for prayer's grace. I remember sneezing due to allergies and having to miss recess. Never forgave those fucking nuns. God is merciful, but humans on the other hand. No same-sex hugging. Really weird rule. Apparently some kid got sick, and their parent blamed same-sex hugging. My high school went the other way, no heterosexual hugging. They were scared shitless to say anything to the known homosexual couples though. You weren't allowed to bring in bottled water at all. You had to buy the school's bottled water from the cafeteria. It had the school's logo on the bottle, so that's how they knew. The reason for this is because people were bringing bottled water that was really just vodka in a used water bottle. They didn't seem to understand that you could just save old school water bottles and put liquor in those instead, which is what a lot of kids did. Edit to answer some questions. No, this was not in Russia, it was near Dallas, Texas. Also, yeah, I'm pretty sure this was just an effort to make some money. I don't think alcohol was a big problem on campus. Of course, that wasn't the real reason. The school signed a contract to sell some distributors water, and they had to agree to not allow drinks in the building in order to secure that contract. The school made a mint off of your suffering. That's probably more likely, to be honest. I just bought the one and filled it up in the water fountain. No running in the schoolyard or playground during recess or lunch. How the fuck do you expect to stop 500 children from running while they're out there playing? I had the opposite. Run as much as you want, but don't stay still. Monitors bothered me so much with that. I didn't want to move too much when the ground was in ice because once a kid was sliding a patch of ice, bumped in my legs and made me fall pretty hard on my head. I ended up in the hospital for a neck injury. I was in pain for 2 weeks, and now I hurt my neck very easily. It's not like I was fat or didn't move around every other time. Some teachers insisting that the bell does not mean you are dismissed. Bitch please, that's exactly what that means. Even worse, some of my teachers would hold students after the bell as a way of punishment. It honestly sucked having to explain why I was late to the next class every time that happened. Late to class, huh? Well, you can spend the time you missed here, after class. Then you get stuck in a loop. Our high school got a wild hair up their collective ass that we were spending too much time in the bathrooms. So they tried to set up a bathroom schedule, where you could only use them during certain hours of the day without a pass. And to get a pass you had to convince a member of the staff that you really had to go. They had staff members guarding the bathrooms to make sure you had a pass to use the bathroom. It wasn't until a combination of classroom walkouts, bathroom sit-ins, citations of laws, parent complaints, and several insinuations that the rule was somehow racist that they gave in and rescinded the rule. In secondary school, high school, we were forced to leave the school in full uniform at the end of the school, meaning no jackets unless you were out of the main gates, which are very far outdoors, so if it was raining you were fucked. Thank God that rule only lasted 2 weeks. We had a hallway only for 6th graders in middle school. It was really strange because it was in the middle of the entire school, but if any teachers found you there, you were sent to the principal's office. We had one-way hallways 1 year in junior high because it was overcrowded and they thought that might make movement between classes more efficient. They had teachers in the hallways between every class to make sure you didn't go the wrong way, even if your locker was like 10 feet the other direction. Super inconvenient. This is actually pretty hilarious. Annoying if you were to go to the school, but in retrospect, sounds funny. Have to do a circle around the school if you have a class in the next room but the hallway direction goes the other way. Jimmy, why are you late every class? You fucking know why, Janet. No Nike brand shoes. I grew up in a bad area of Chicago that is now going through the 3rd wave of gentrification. Apparently gangs at the time identified with Nike shoes. If you had on Nike shoes, the teachers would put masking tape over the Nike logo. Because of gang affiliations, we were banned from wearing 3 items of red or blue. Things got a bit hairy on school spirit days, where they encouraged us to wear our school colors, red, white, and blue. The 6-inch rule: we weren't allowed within 6 inches of another person. 1. We aren't American, we don't use inches. 2. How could you stop hundreds of students from being close proximity to each other? 3. You're making a rule for adolescent teenagers called the 6-inch rule. Hilarity ensues. My high school started to do a school shooter drill twice a semester my senior year. They had a dude come in the front door during lunch, blow an air horn and shout, "This is a shooter drill, run!" He had a water gun and would shoot kids with it, and then tell them they had been killed. Me and my friends casually finished our lunch as he shot us, then left out the kitchen side door to leave the building. Half the senior class ended up leaving as they had this guy go through half the school and through the freshman center over the course of half an hour. It was pretty ridiculous and happened several times, usually during lunch. This actually kinda sounds like fun. Imagine it breaking out into a whole water gun fight between the dude and the seniors. No hugging. All of the girls in elementary, including myself, would hug each other if we were friends. We would also hug certain teachers because some were really amazing people and helped out less fortunate students like me. We were only allowed to fist bump. Both the teachers and students did it anyway, despite the principal monitoring the hallways all the time to try to stop it. Fuck you, Ms. McRae. Not really a rule, more of a, if this isn't illegal then it should be, sort of think. Someone emptied all the soap in the boys' bathroom onto the floor my freshman year, and the school retaliated by leaving the dispensers empty for the next 4 years. It was disgusting. Travel soap kept in my bag through high school. We had a lesson about how fire needed oxygen to continue burning. So, they said a fire would eventually go out if in a contained room with no extra oxygen. Our teacher then assigned a different student every other week to be in charge of making sure all the windows were closed before leaving if there was a fire. Thankfully, we never had an actual fire. In elementary school, we were not allowed to stand in circles because standing in circles leads to the gang life. Little did they know that us real thugs prefer gangbanging in octagons. No stomping on soda cans laying on their side and walking around with them attached to your shoes. Given how specific this is, I feel like it might be justified. What was the weirdest rule you had to follow in school? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.